I've been coming to this hallowed turf for maybe 30 years now, maybe more, I don't know. I've seen all sorts of stuff here over the years. What we're going to do today is just going to go for a nice little walk. We'll see if we can notice any signs of migration, because that's what we're doing today. And also talking about birding and talking about urban birding, particularly here in this wonderful place. Often to realize migration, you have to come to a place several times over a period of a couple of weeks, a month. And you notice that every morning there's a different kind of population of birds. Birds like swallows, you can think, yeah, they all leave and all fly off and head to Africa, which is largely true. I mean, obviously there's some that stick around even as late as December. But then there's other birds that we don't even think of as migrants. Birds like robins, birds like blackbirds and starlings, a lot of them coming from Scandinavia, October, November time, and supplement our already existing numbers. As my good friend Bill Oddie once said, if you open your back door in November and you see the birds in your garden, if they could actually have human accents, you'll be hearing Norwegian, German, Polish, Spanish, but actually you're looking at blackbirds, robins, and all those sort of birds. So there's a flux. During the First World War, a lot of this area was used for training with the MOD, Ministry of Defence, and also as a prisoner of war camp. So it's had a very sketchy, well not sketchy, but a very kind of long and varied history. Currently, it's completely surrounded by urbanity, as you know, most of you know. And also the prison of the very same name, the Wormwood Scrubs prison, is just over there, we'll see it. The great thing about urban birding for me is the fact that London, for example, there's lots of little pockets of blue and green. And these birds are flying overhead. If you can imagine, they can see a little parcel of green, they drop down, they start feeding. And often in areas like here, you have more birds concentrated than you would do in a rural area. And that's one thing I learned over the years, because when I first started crowing about urban birding, people, especially other birders, at first were very skeptical. And they thought it was the poor man's idea of birding. Why are you going here? You should be going to Suffolk or going somewhere wild. But actually, a lot of the stuff that you see in Suffolk, I can see here as well. There's been 622 different species of birds, roughly, found in Britain since records began, of which at least 80% have been found in urban areas. People often ask me, you know, what's birding about? For me, it's not about racing after rare birds. You obviously all heard about the phrase twitcher. Yeah, twitchers are people that rush after rare birds. I'm not a twitcher. Funny enough, I was down in the South Coast yesterday, and a lady came up to me. She goes, "Oh, are you a twitter?" I said, "No." I said, I'm a bird, and I explained the difference. And she was, you know, I live and learn. I never knew that. But the media love to paint anyone with a pair of binoculars as a twitcher. There's nothing wrong with twitching, by the way. I used to do it myself, but I don't think you learn much really, because you're rushing after a rare bird found by someone else. And you always have to ask yourself the question, would I recognize that on my own? Often the answer is no. So what have you learned? And also it's the massive carbon footprint, you know, flying from here to the Shetland Islands at the drop of a hat to see a brown bird that may not be there. For me, I'm more excited, or I find the prospect of finding my own rarities more exciting, even though that's a lot harder. And also in a place like here, it's even harder because you're in the middle of a city. But I live by the motto that anything can turn up anywhere at any time. And that served me well, because I think it's just great to have a massive expectation in terms of anything can be here, but then just focus down on what you see and think to yourself, that blue tit looks amazing, you know. So that's how I kind of look at birding. It's relaxing, it's meditative. It's not about getting a massive list. It's not about, you know, it's about you feeling good, and it's about what you want from it. There's no rules, there's no exam to pass. There's no, I need to have 400 species on my list by August. There's some dried, where that crow's just flown over there, there's a sort of some dried sort of sticky branches going up.
Oh yeah, that looks right.
And if you look to the right, there's a thicker sort of, like, I don't know if it's covered in ferns or something, but it's very thick. But on the left, there's a great spot woodpecker just hopping around. It's in the middle of the sort of dried sticky things. Can everyone see? There's a lot of activity going on near the top. If you come from the top, go down the center, maybe drop down 2 feet. There's a goldcrest. Yeah, there's a goldcrest. I just saw it a second ago. It's heading up towards the top near the center. You see it? So when that's a long-tailed tit to the left. If you come right to the tallest point, and then go down, drop down, there's a goldcrest moving around. Goldcrests have been more frequently reported here, but I think it's largely because people are looking now. I think they've always been here, especially in the winter. This area we're looking at over here used to be penetrable, but it's not now. It's called Chat's Paddock. There is a fence line behind all those bushes. Anything of note always turned up in here. Nightingale, turtle dove, ring ouzel, all of them have been in here at some point. I remember being here once and I was with one of the scrubbers and I said to him, if only something amazing flew over, and I turned and flying towards me was an osprey being chased by crows along the top of the line here. But I've had whimbrel fly over here. I mean, this is like an incredible oasis for stuff. Wryneck in there, you know Wryneck? Wryneck's a woodpecker, but it's basically black, brown, grey and white. And it doesn't look like a woodpecker, it looks like a little warbler. But it's called a Wryneck because if you ever held it in your hand, it will flare its wings and tail, then sort of put his neck around his mouth open, hissing like a snake. So they're called Wrynecks. And they're pretty, I think they don't even nest in Britain anymore. They're extinct in Britain as a nester, but they are sort of regular migrants, but not very common. But to have them here is like incredible, you know. So that just proved to me that even though, you know, places like, you know, Minsmere and all those places have a load of really great birds come through, a tiny microcosm of it comes through here. I used to come here thinking I was in Norfolk or Suffolk or Shetland even. And then once you start thinking as if you are on one of those places or in one of those places, that's when you start seeing things. You've got to forget about the fact you're in a city and not restrict your mind to the idea that there's only 2 things you can see. Folks, thank you very much for joining me in a wander around my garden. A bit quiet today, but you can see hopefully the potential this place has had and will have in the future. Talk about it as much as you can, get people to come to enjoy the nature here. And yeah, thank you very much, and I hope to see you all again at some point.